All right, guys. So if you have a window that does this, you have a problem with your window regulator, and I'm going to show you how to fix that today. So here I have the new regulator, and on this car, not all cars are going to be exactly the same, but on this one, the motor that drives the regulator and the regulator, they're all, it comes as one piece. The reason that it makes that clicking when it starts to come up to the top of its travel, it has to do with these teeth on the regulator. So the motor right behind here, you can't really see, but there's a gear. And so when the motor is spinning, it's moving this piece, up or down. And in turn, the glass that's attached to here, it causes this to move up and down. But these teeth, oftentimes, especially in an older car, they'll get stripped out. And it may not be all of the teeth, it may be just one or two are stripped. So when it comes to that point in the travel where the stripped teeth hit this motor, it can't engage, and it starts to, it vibrates or it clicks. Now, of course, the window motor and regulator is inside the door panel. You have to take it off. This is the Honda Accord. It's the same one in my other video that I did the rack and pinion. It's an 01 Honda Accord. But, I mean, this process will work on pretty much any vehicle. I mean, most vehicles, there's maybe a couple different things you have to do to get the panel off and so forth, but the concept is the same. So the first thing, and I mean, you don't need any special tools. You just want to look for, like, inside where the door handles are, there's a Phillips head screw. You take that out. There's a Phillips head screw down in here, and this handle, you take that out. Okay, so I took the screws out I just showed you. Now, when you go to take these off, there's a method to it, so don't just go yanking on it. You want to push it forward, and then it comes out. You see what I'm saying? So don't just yank on it, you'll break it. So forward, and then obviously putting it in is the opposite. But so you want this to kind of come out, and then this little pen deal, you're gonna need to just take your finger, and you'll see how it goes. But just pop this off of this little rod, pull that rod out, release it, and then get that out of the way. Take this plug off. It's pretty straightforward. So once you get that off, a lot of cars, like this one over here, it'll have this little deal, this little plastic deal behind the mirror, and so it just basically pops off. There's really not a lot to it. Let me see. It's kind of annoying. You have to kind of yank on it because it's got these little tabs back here, but you just basically pull that off. Put that aside. So with this off, the screw that's in here out, and that off, then just come over here with the screwdriver, pop this little tab, pop that little tab out. And then once you have that out, on some cars there'll be extra screws like here on the side or whatever on the bottom. There'll be screws underneath here on the panel, but in this case there's none. So just check for that. And then once you have everything free, then like on this car, it's really not all that hard. Then basically the process from here would be kind of here along the bottom and on the sides, there's these little plastic tabs that are, holding the door in. And then once you get that kind of popped off, it just pops up the rest of the way. So just kind of work your way around the edge and kind of pull. You hear that pop? So you kind of do that all around the side here and the bottom. You just put your hand, pull, and then you see that. And then once you do that, then from there, you basically just grab this thing and pull the whole frame up. Watch this. Don't get it caught up on that, but it just pops out, and removes. And then don't just go crazy and drop this thing, because you still got a couple of cords, for your lights and stuff, and so you're gonna have to go through there on the back side and disconnect those. So just hold it and do that. So guys, when you do this kind of thing, so check. Let me actually go on this side so you can. Okay. So on the door panel, these tabs that I showed you, these are the ones that you pop, that you kind of reach your hand and you pop out. Now these can actually come out, and you see how they're made with this little groove that fits inside this little deal. So it just slides in there as so. So you want to go around and you want to double check all those, make sure that they're in place, because a lot of times what can happen is when you pop this door panel off, you'll get some that are left behind and they're stuck in here. And if that's the case, you want to actually get those out and stick them back in there where they go, because otherwise then when you go to put this all back together, you're going to have a little bit of a difficult time. It's not want to go in right. So just check it over. And in my case, everything came out fine, but you know, I've had it happen plenty of times where they get stuck behind, so just check for that. So once you get down to this point, then this little plastic deal that's already kind of coming off, in some cases it'll be stuck on there pretty good, but you want to peel that off. Just start from the top and just peel it down, and that will expose what you want to expose. Okay, so once you have the door like this, then you're pretty much you're doing okay. So from this point, what you want to do is each one of these screws, they're 10 millimeters on this car, but each one of these screws are going to be holding in the motor and the regulator. So you're going to want to take those off. But before you take those all the way off, you want to remove the screws that are actually holding the glass in. Probably the best way, if your window actually moves at all, you may want to reconnect the switch and kind of lower this thing down enough to where you can expose the screws through here that you need to take the window out. So let me show you what I mean. This is what I'm talking about, guys. So I just took the switch, took it off the door panel, connected it, you know, put the key in the on position, and then you can move the window like this. Now that is to say, if your window moves at all, if it doesn't move because the motor is just shot, then you know this isn't gonna work. Then what you want to do is lower this thing down, and you see it coming down through here, and you see like those bolts right there. Those are the bolts that hold the glass on. They're 10 millimeter like the other ones, but you're gonna want to take those off. So, and if you lower it enough, then they'll be exposed through this big old sight hole. And you can take those off. And then the other ones, you'll see it through this little, where is it? Right there. Through this hole right there. So there's just two. And you don't actually have to take the bolts out all the way. You just have to loosen them. So I'm gonna loosen these. Number one. Oops. Number one. And number two. With it loose, you see what I'm talking about? You can grab right here and you can slide it over. Once you slide it to right here, this comes out like that. So basically you want to pull that out and then push the window with your hand, kind of push it up to get it out of the way. Or you know, you can grab it from the top and pull it up. I just grabbed the window by hand and moved it all the way up to the top. In some cases you may have to have something to hold this in place, or have somebody help you or whatnot, but in this case it's staying up by itself. That is, unless I probably jiggle the door too much, it might fall down, so I'm not gonna try not to do that. But see, this is loose, and that's what you want. You want to take the glass loose from this before you start loosening all these. Otherwise, if you get all these loose, the whole motor and regulator, it's going to be flopping around in there while you still have it attached to the window, and it's just going to be very difficult to get it out. So, well, I took the first three out. 1, 2, 3. I guess I can kind of film while I'm doing this. So this one out, that one down there. And now when it comes to these two right here, you notice that there's this hole here. So what you want to do is, you don't have to, you know, well, don't take it out all the way, or this thing is just going to fall down inside the door. So just loosen them, loosen and loosen. And then we can kind of do what we did with the window glass a minute ago. You can pick this thing up. I can do this one-handed. You can pick it up, slide it here, and pop it out. That way it doesn't just fall down on you. I guess for removing it, it's not that important, but for reinstalling, it's kind of important. So anyway, then from there, this whole thing is down in there. And then you just want to kind of maneuver it, you know, obviously out this big hole. So yeah, you might want to disconnect that. That's the power for your motor. Take that. Yeah, sure, that works. Anyway, push that in there. And that too. So I'm gonna pop that in there. Let's see. Okay. Okay, now it should be. So. Try this again. Okay. Okay. There we go. Yeah, guys, so you can see it's not the easiest thing to get out, but it's not that bad. And look, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So you see the teeth on this regulator? Check this out. See how they're just all ground down right here? It's exactly what I'm talking about. The teeth up here, they're good. You see that? It's good, 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 good. You come down to about right here, they're just nubs. They're just worn out. And that is why, you know, close to the top of the travel, at the point where this little motor, flip this over, at the point where the gear inside here is running and it's trying to move this up and down, well, once it gets to the point where, you know, like these teeth right here where they're just ground out, it can't catch, and that's why you have that issue. So this new regulator, nice new teeth, that'll take care of the problem. Before you go put the new one in, double check the connectors and make sure they're the same before you put them in, you know, and just kind of just check it out. I mean, because that'd be a lot of work to get this thing in and realize that you got the wrong part. So just double check that. And then you can see too, you know, the bolt holes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which corresponds to 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then the two that are right here, this corresponds to this little guy that flops around. So 1 bolt there and 1 bolt there. So that being said, that means that this motor and regulator simply is going to go in facing this way. So I'm going to get that. I'm just going to kind of skip the part where I put this in, and then I'll show you, you know, getting the bolts and how you get it lined up. You see I got 1 bolt in, and so with that, you know, I can kind of pivot it where I need to get it to get the rest of them in. And so I didn't tighten it, you see, but I just got it started. So kind of use that to pivot things to where you need it. All right, guys, so once you get all the screws started like I have, just make sure everything's like in the right, you know, seated well. Like this one, bring that down. Like these over here, make sure they're seated where they're supposed to be. And then when they are, just go ahead and tighten them up. You don't gotta tighten the crap out of them, but that's good enough. This one kind of moved down. You see right now the bar is up here. So let's go ahead and lower this back down to where it's supposed to be. So obviously take your connector, plug that one in. So plug that in, key back on. I forgot to mention earlier, don't forget to turn the key off after you have it on, because otherwise you're gonna drain your battery. And it's starting to get dark over here, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up. So with the switch connected, basically you just do what you did before. Lower this thing down. So obviously, you know, this is the test to make sure it works, and it works fine. So lower that back down to about where it was before, so we can get to this screw and then the one that was inside there. So the glass is still up, and if you recall, the screws for this that are going to go in there, they're still in the glass. So basically what I'm going to do is just take the glass, carefully lower it, put the screws, you know, insert them back here, slide them over to this point right here and tighten them down, and then reassemble your door. So let me get this in. Excuse the loud Mustang over there with the... Anyway, once you get that in there, make sure it's in good. So like that little washer deal that's on the screw, you know, make sure that's not behind the little metal plate or anything like that. Make sure it's in there properly. Make sure this one, you know, same thing, this little washer deal, make sure it's in front and it's not in the back and that kind of thing, and make sure it's in there good. So once you're in there, just tighten it down. You know, don't go crazy, but you know, tighten it enough. So I'm gonna do that right here. Wish this thing would... having problems with this thing focusing. Anyway, just give it a little tap. So then once you tighten it, you know, double check, make sure that everything looks to be in order. And then once you get those bolts in, really the only thing left to do is just test it, make sure that this thing works. As you can see, works fine. So go all the way up and down in the travel, make sure nothing gets stuck. But in this case, everything's working beautifully. So from this point, I'm gonna leave the window all the way up. I turn the key off, unplug this deal, and then from here, it's just pretty much reassembly. So I'll show you guys how I do that. So this little plastic guy is supposed to keep moisture out. It's torn up so bad, I don't even know how effective that's going to be, but I'm just going to put it back on anyway. And so basically just slip all the wires through where they're supposed to be. So you really should use masking tape or something to put this back on, but I don't have any right now, so not too worried about it. But basically from this point, and let me turn this key off, or take this key out, and then stop that annoying beeping. But anyway, basically you just take the door panel, the clips are all in place, set it up here, get all your wires plugged in, and then once you do that, I almost forgot, don't forget to put your light bulb back in, and don't forget this little metal deal, don't forget to put that on as well. So once you get everything connected, obviously there's going to be one connector that hangs through here that you're not going to connect, but you see this lip on the window right here? So this lip corresponds with a lip right underneath here on the door panel. So all you want to do is you want to start from the top, and it should slip in from the top. So obviously start over here and get your lock in place. That you want that to be your starting point. Get that to focus. There we go. Then you can come up here, lift this up, and you want to sort of just set it over the lip. You're gonna have to probably push a little bit on it to get it to set. So once you get it to set on there, see that? It sets on there. And the little rubber trim should be pretty much right up against the glass. And that'll go down in there like that. So you want that to go in there, and then from then here you can go and you can pop the tabs in. So just go and hit them with your hand and pop them in. Once everything's popped in, the rest of it's pretty straightforward. So this little plastic deal that you took out, pop that back in, you know, and then you got a screw in there, a Phillips screw, so put that in. And then you got this to put back on. So, and then you know, of course this. So let me actually do this. So let me put this on first, show you guys. So get that on there, like so. Just pops in. So once you get that popped in, then where did I put my little deal? So then door handle, obviously plug it in first. So plug that in. And then remember how these little tabs slide and they stick into, I can't really see, into right here on the door. But you want to get this rod in or else you won't be able to open the door from the inside. So, that being said, line it up with, line it up with here first. Pull this guy out. Stick it in. Once that is in place, then all you have to do is push this back in here, lock that in place, see how that is, and then this thing's not going anywhere. And then from there, put this in here all the way forward until it pushes in, and then, well, my little white paper crap is in the way, so I may have to cut a hole with a screwdriver or something. So once you get that in, you got your screw in here, you got your screw in there, everything else looks good. So now you can just test it one more time. If I can find the key, go key on, and test it one more time. And there you have it, down and up. No clicking, nothing weird, nothing funny. It just works like it should, and that's how you do it. Save yourself $350 at the mechanic shop.